Our next speaker now, and for the final discussion here, we're going to have Umang Das, who's the Chief Mentor with Viom Network and also the Director General with TAIPA.
Now, in the context of Digital India, which has been the cornerstone of the government policy, I think very clearly I would like to look at it in the context of infrastructure, in the context of services, and in the context of awareness building and usage, if I may call it in a broad sense. So from the infrastructure perspective, I think the major issue is a more integrated view between the passive infrastructure and the active infrastructure. When we say passive, we are referring to the tower infrastructure, we are looking at the energy infrastructure, we are looking at the fiber infrastructure. The active infrastructure is around the radio network, is around the BTS, what we call, and around the microwave solutions and so on. And just as the government has spearheaded earlier the concept of sharing, this sharing has to be extended across.
3 years' time is what we're looking at to realize the government's Digital India initiative. In your view, going by your experience, your knowledge, your understanding in the field, 3 years' time is realistic?
3 years is a reasonable time because the government seems to have set several targets. If all of us were to do our job and enter into a partnership, I would take a very positive line on this.
All right. On that note, I'm going to open this to the audience. Is there anyone who has a specific question here for Mr. Das?
The experience has been that Indian telecom has been the elder brother of all the industries in India, the way the growth has happened. Now we are seeing a syndrome that the elder brother also suffers most. The Ramayana epic episode that he goes to the forest and he is exiled. The kind of problem that we are seeing, it is not possible to sustain that growth. And therefore, on taxation, on spectrum pricing, and all these matters, the government should come out with a better policy which is industry positive or industry enabling.
Ultimately, all these successes will come out of the fundamental policy environment. And as far as the policy environment is concerned, unless and until we have a large level of consensus between the policymakers' approach and the industry, I don't think this can be speeded up. The good news is that lately there is a much larger degree of understanding on this, and the issues being addressed is how to do it. I mean, let's take spectrum itself. Spectrum is a major concern area. At the same time, there is now no disagreement that that kind of spectrum has to be made available. It is a timing issue that, it has to be released from defense or it is released from somewhere else, and therefore it is taking time. But there is no difference of opinion in the larger objectives. I think within the industry also, there has to be a greater degree of consensus, which in turn has to be mirrored with the government. I think that is the one thing which can accelerate our progress far beyond what we have achieved, even though what we have achieved by itself is commendable.
All right, on that note, many thanks for being an interactive audience here for your set of questions. Mr. Das, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us on that. Thanks. Well, we've come to the end of the Telecom